Welcome back, everyone. One half of the day is now complete. The top side, the first semifinal matchup, has been decided. But now it's time to find out who's gonna be on the other side. And for a lot of us here, and now I think having seen how you guys are for Little Bo, I think a lot of us are waiting for a certain somebody that we'll get to watch at the very end of the day. But before that, a short tale this time for the third quarterfinal. 2 Koreans now left here in the Season 3 WCS Finals. We've had Hydra now knocked out, and one more has to be knocked out as we have 2 of them going against each other. The first player I want to introduce to you, he has a little bit of encouragement now. We already had 1 player from Team Millennium just securing a spot in the semifinals. Who says we can't have 2 from the same team trying to make a name and coming back once again in the Season 3 Finals? Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you ForGG! And his opponent, he has many nicknames. The one who tries to hoard all the WCS titles, Captain America. And this man, in the beginning of the year, made a bold promise that he was going to win all 3 seasons. While that's no longer true after Season 2, he can still make up for it by trying to take another title here in Season 3. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you, Polt! I cannot tell you guys how weird it is for me to introduce this match this way, but this is the truth. Who will be the last Korean standing here at the WCS Season 3 Finals?
He's feeling it, dude.
It's time to find out.
Thank you very much, Chobra. Terran versus Terran for the third quarterfinal of the day. Joining me on the desk this time is In Control, Todd, and Nathanias. Boys, we'll get to the game in a minute because I know Nathanias, you do have a lot to say with this Terran versus Terran matchup. The players are preparing and setting up on stage, and just like the other 2 quarterfinals, they had words to say to each other.
Actually, I learned how to play bio now, but I think Polt play only bio, so we will see.
Well, everyone knows what I'm gonna do, but I don't know if I can surprise everyone or not. But I will see how good he is. Then, like, it's best of 5. I have some time to figure out what I need to do. His strength is, in my opinion, unpredictability, kind of.
I think his play very standard, and every time play very similar. So he's if going to play a late game, I think he have good chance.
ForGG's biggest weakness is, I guess, in the late game, especially if he's playing against me.
Some Hellions.
I don't like Hellions at all. I mean, I don't like to play it. I don't like to have it in my hand. Also, I don't like my opponents to have it.
If you beat me, my fan will destroy you.
I'm sorry, but tickets for BlizzCon is sold out already.
Similar to Lilbo, ForGG is fighting this weekend for a spot to play at the Global Finals. A spot to play at BlizzCon in just a little bit of time here, Nathanias, but he's got a lot of work cut out for him against the 3-time WCS champion.
Yeah, unfortunately for ForGG, this is what I would say his best matchup by far, TvT. He's got great results against Polt. I said that earlier this year where he took a closer series, but I still think ForGG has what it takes to make his dreams come true.
But Todd, in the round of 16 in the group stages, he said that Terran versus Terran, as much as he loves the matchup, it's one of his weakest right now.
Yeah, maybe it's a little phase that sometimes you go through. You know, even though you're gonna have the best matchup, if you start losing here and there in ladder, it might affect you a little bit, and you're gonna think that you're weaker than you actually are. Doesn't necessarily mean he's really doing bad, and he's had a lot of time to brainstorm in how to go about playing this match here against Polt. I've seen him practice hard backstage. He watches all VODs against Polt, while Polt, the professor himself, was practicing Hearthstone. So I guess he thought he already had covered this prep here for this match.
I want to see which ForGG shows up. Like, even in just the round of 16, we saw two different ForGGs. There was the one that faced Lilbo that looked really inconsistent, made a lot of mistakes, and didn't look actually that good. And then there's the one that tore Jaedong apart, and that looked like a scary ForGG of the past that we've seen. If he brings that level of play here against Polt, he's got a really good chance.
And that's one thing that Polt really hasn't struggled with over the years is consistency, right? He's been one of the most consistent StarCraft II players of all time.
Yeah. It's one of the rare things to see in a player. And if you are a Terran, he's one of the players you study forever. He's been winning as long as StarCraft II's been going on. He's taken championships in WCS for everywhere in the world. He's just so good.
He's the most successful WCS player of all time as well. He's got 3 championships to his belt. He's got fantastic stats. He's had a great year despite obviously not being able to do as well in Season 2, but he's one of the best.
Yeah, and the numbers kind of showed up. I like what Nate was talking about too. Like, it's not even just WCS guys. Like, let's remember, back in Wings of Liberty, this guy was winning gigantic mountains of cash, and he's never ceased to impress from there as well.
But you got to look at this matchup, as they said in the interviews, it is more than likely going to be Mech versus Bio. Polt has historically said time after time after time, it's not his favorite playstyle, he doesn't like doing it, but we know that ForGG does.
Yeah, ForGG, though, in the interview, he did say also that he learned how to play Bio. But realistically, does he really want to play Bio against Polt? When Polt heard that, he was like, well, if he plays Bio against me, I guess he'll lose for sure. So the Mech against Bio is what we all anticipate here to happen in every game. And it should make definitely for very interesting games with a lot of action everywhere.
Well, let's take a quick look at the map vetoes then. The players have locked in the 5 maps that we're going to be playing on, again, in this best of 5. Nathanias, a bit of a Terran player yourself. Talk to us the differences with the maps that we've seen. I mean, especially considering Mech and Bio.
Straight away, I think about what kind of builds that ForGG likes. You know, the early Hellion plays, lots of very in-your-face aggressive play, and then something that we've already seen this season in this run of 16, especially the tank pushes off 2 bases. And you look at Terraform, really great pushing map for the natural expansion. You can hit it from that outside 3rd base. Same thing can be said of Cactus Valley. You can hit from either that 3rd/4th base position with early tanks. And the choke points for neither of those bases are too bad. So it really comes down to if ForGG is actually going to change it up and play some Bio, or if he's just going to bring the Hellions out again.
What about the veto on Dash and Terminal from ForGG?
I think it's just a map you don't play that much, period. You know, that map also gets really scary. The thing about Dash, like, you can put by those rocks a tank and you block like 3 different areas. It's really scary for TvT.
Moonlight Madness has made its way in. For the first time, Jeff Coda has been vetoed by Polt.
It's a mirror matchup, but I mean, yeah, it gets a little bit crazy there. There's back rocks on that map, so someone, hopefully in the Polt camp, tapped him on the shoulder and said, now remember, there's back rocks in the back of your base, because that seems to be kind of in his blind spot in the past.
All right, so the first map between these 2 players is going to be Terraform. Terraform, can it be a good, solid map for Mech?
I think so. You know, the biggest thing to keep in mind is Polt will drop drop all over you throughout the entire series. Probably a reason why he left Moonlight Madness in. And for Terraform, the main base is very susceptible to that. ForGG will have to be very careful about his positioning, because I still think this is a highly aggressive map due to the cliff in the main base that you can jump up with either Reapers or drops, and that siege tank position at the 3rd base.
How important are the openers going to be? Yeah, we always talk about, you know, like, I'm already imagining like 5 base against 5 base, but in terms of openers, can we see somebody getting shut down and demolished early on, or do you think these guys are good enough that nobody's going to take too much damage and we're almost always going to head into a longer game?
I think both of these players are so solid in TvT that it shouldn't be one of those quick, push and done type strategies. Both of them are more likely to open with something like a Raven and a Viking than they are to both go Banshee and try to kill each other very fast.
All right, so thank you very much, Nathaniel. It's time to look at the predictions, though, as you were leading the way as we came into the roundabout. I'm not sure if you're still on the top. I think you might be. I think we've had a 50-50 vote so far, but as you can see, it's 4 and 4 again between everyone. Everyone's split in half, Nathanius.
Yeah, well, I want to congratulate the other 3 men who decided to join me in being correct this time, Apollo, because 4GG is going to take it.
And Kalaris, Rotterdam have joined you.
Yeah, smart man.
Why? Tell me.
TvT is 4GG's thing. And even on a bad day, you may think to yourself, I'm not quite so good at TvT, but if there's one thing that 4GG is good at, and I think Polt mentioned this in the interview, is the unpredictability. And Polt still has no idea what he's going to be up against in this best of 5.
You know what those guys are forgetting?
What's that,
This
mate?
is getting closer to the end of a tournament. And if there's
Polt's
one
charging
thing
up.
Polt's good at, it's dominating nerds, man. He's going to win this thing. You can see him pictured here, focusing.
Last season, though, didn't do as well as...
Todd, that was last season.
It's a new season, Todd.
God, Todd.
You just said he always does well. That
yeah, he
includes
does.
last season, Jeff.
He totally does, man. No.
All right, time for the game, boys. Thank you very much for your input, as always. And I hope you guys at home and in the venue are ready for this one. Terran versus Terran, just a 3-time champion going up against a player in 4GG who wants to play at the Global Finals.
What's up, guys? We are here. We're ready to cast. We got a fantastic TvT. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure who is going to take this. These guys are both looking really strong.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a close match, I think. It should be a 3-2 if I had to guess. But I got to say, I think Polt is going to be able to take this one down, Tasteless.
You might be
He's
right.
just so clutch when under pressure.
One of the best aggressive Terrans that there is out there. And this match is loading up. Guys, let's get hype. We're going to go into our best of 5 now. A TvT 4GG against Polt. In the upper left, in the blue, let's make some noise for 4GG.
And his opponent, a player who has already won $370,000 in StarCraft II, make some noise for Polt.
All right, so we got 2 players who have been around for a long time in StarCraft. Not
That's
just
right.
StarCraft II, StarCraft 1 as well. I like what they were saying at the expert desk. Polt has been remarkably consistent compared to a lot of other Terrans.
Oh yeah, this guy has been winning tournaments since the very beginning of StarCraft II, and that's why, as I mentioned before, he is, I think it's 5th place overall in prize money in StarCraft II with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars won.
You know, Polt is a bit of a renaissance man. I mean, this is a guy who was dominating while even going to school at the same time, going to the best university in Korea. So I mean, it's a pretty remarkable thing. And you know, now he's able, since he's graduated, able to focus entirely on you know, just improving here. And I think he's got a very good shot. Now, here's something else to keep in mind. Polt's very aggressive historically. He really knows how to get in there, and he'll oftentimes win just off 2 bases alone. But I do think 4GG is just as solid as Polt in the late game.
Yeah, you know, I do have to agree with you on that. Like, 4GG, this guy was a StarCraft 1 champion. He was a fantastic player, had a hard time in StarCraft 2 for a little bit, but you know what? He did finally end up winning a big championship with the DreamHack Finals in last November, and here he is. He's looking strong, he's looking fantastic, but can he take out Polt and move to that round of 4?
That is the big question here. It looks like we're going to have a Reaper build coming up here for Polt, and over here it is also going to be a Reaper build. So it's basically mirrored at this point in time. We don't see any deviation, and that's important because in Terran versus Terran, there's a lot of ways to play that despite it being a mirror matchup, and a lot of ways to get into the late game. And we've seen people that go for mech, they turtle up.
Yeah.
We've seen you know, the fusion style that's been very popular, which is bio with some tank, and then we've seen something that's a little bit outdated, but occasionally people throw it in there, which is just much more bio and attempting to engage and win engagements there. And speaking of engagements, Reaper versus Reaper.
Oh man, looks like Polt gonna be able to just get out of there with his Reaper. Of course, 4GG gonna have to turn around. Not sure that another one might be coming right on the way. But as you were saying, Tasteless, yeah, we definitely see both those different styles. And as we see here, they're already deviating from each other. 4GG grabs that second gas, being the player who really loves to use those high gas expensive mech units. Meanwhile, Polt skipping out on that second gas, most likely headed towards a bio composition.
Polt now moving up ahead, and this is a great play to play on this map. You hide in the bush there to get the initiative, get the first shot off, but so far Polt's control very good. Keeps all three alive.
God.
It's so funny because strategically you look at that, and I like what ForGG was doing, but when you have to execute it, then Polt snaps with beautiful micro, just controlling everything. And I gotta say, Polt a little bit of a tempo lead here.
Yeah, look, Polt since the beginning of StarCraft II has been one of the very best players with his micromanagement, with the control of his units. He just showed it right there. And that's part of the reason why he loves to go for bio, because he can spread his units out and really get a lot of value out of them. But can he break through ForGG, who is such a solid mech player?
Yeah, that's really going to be the big question. Also, it's really important to keep in mind the way this map is shaped. There's so many ways to move around your opponent and avoid them or counterattack them, because this map has this kind of crazy swirly shape here in the middle. And so that's something that you want to keep in mind, because if you're somebody who's very agile like Polt, it's going to be quite strong. But hold that thought. Coming up here and chasing out ForGG. ForGG on the run, but probably going to go back into his main now.
Oh, ForGG with some miss micro right there. Polt continuing to push forward, jumps up with the Reaper. He's coming up with his Hellions now as well. He has a big unit advantage. SCV's coming out, but Polt going to go ahead and fry him.
Unbelievable. And it looks like Polt is such a calculated player. He does not overextend. He does not overengage. He keeps his lead. He backs up. And gotta say, I think that was fantastic play.
Yeah, look, Polt, the reason why I'm really choosing this guy to be able to win this match is because of what we're seeing here. He is so cool under pressure. It doesn't matter what's happening in the game. This guy is going to put out his absolute best, and we already see him doing a great job.
Yeah, a lot of focus, a lot of equanimity from Polt. Now we see the Banshee coming up here. Oddly enough, it was the Hellions that allowed Polt to know ahead of time that the Banshee was there. He was hiding that to wait for Cloak so he could optimize the damage, but it didn't end up happening. However, ForGG is coming down now, and it looks like he wants to engage here in this expansion.
It looks like a lot of Hellions coming in right now. Now those SCVs going to have a very hard time. The Mule's being pulled as well, and it looks like he's going to get a nice advantage here with this Hellion attack.
Nicely done here. This is a slaughter on the workers. I like the placement of the Banshee there as well in case SCVs did try to pull out and go into the main. He would be able to gun them down with that Banshee as well. So now Polt in a very defensive position in what has really been a seesaw game here. We have ForGG now coming in, and he could do a lot of damage to the workers if he opts to go down there, and he's going to do just that.
That's right. He picks off a lot of Marines now going towards that mineral line. Polt starting to lose more SCVs. Already 17 falling to these Hellions. And it looks like he will finally be able to clean up. But in the meantime, a Banshee coming from the side as well. ForGG continuing to do huge damage.
Oh my God, this is huge. He's going to be able to take out the reactor. And that does go down. And he's not finished with his harass. We have some bruised SCVs now taking even more damage. And I got to say, that was definitely a great trade there for ForGG.
Oh yeah, he is in an absolutely fantastic position here, having killed off that many workers. It is now 24 miners for ForGG, whereas Polt down to just 15.
Yeah, beautifully done. Now, we do also have to factor in there are 2 orbitals here for Polt, so he can be dropping mules, but that's still a pretty big lead. We only just now have the expansion starting to be made. It's not like he's landing it there, so that's a lot of time that potentially Polt could try to engineer some kind of counterattack.
Well, we'll see what Polt can get done with that. You really don't want to take economic damage early on as the player who wants to go for Marines and Marauders. It takes a lot of minerals. You have to get your expansions up very quickly and really push your early game presence. But ForGG has done enough damage at this point that that's going to be very hard for Polt to pull off.
ForGG now camping outside the expansion for Polt. Will he opt to go in here in a second? I mean, Polt, remember, he was mostly losing workers on attacking units, so he still does have some defense, and actually taking out these tanks is brilliant. But of course, a scan would immediately destroy that Banshee.
Yeah, it looks like the Banshee will go down. He did force a scan, which is nice, but...
Yeah, I'm a bit confused by that, because I saw the Banshee come and I thought, oh great, he's going to get the tanks, and then you look at that and you think, no, I mean, certainly that would be gunned down, but...
Well, I think he was
play there.
Yeah, maybe just sitting there hoping that a scan isn't going to be used. You know, he hurt the economy so badly that Polt might be dropping extra mules.
That's a very good point,
energy.
Artosis. I like that. Yeah, I think that might have actually been the case. There, maybe his energy had been depleted. So Polt still with a stable defense for now. You know, there's a lot of utility that you can have with these Hellions outside the base here for Polt, because the moment that Polt maybe tries to leave, those Hellions go in. They can also spot just to see if anything else is leaving to scout.
Well, right now we do have the Blue Flame upgrade coming for these Hellions, so they do more damage to those light units. Both players just kind of getting their army together into what they want at the moment. Their economies both kind of recovering from that early game, with ForGG finally mining from his expansion, whereas Polt catching up in SCVs almost at this point.
Yeah, the game is beginning to stabilize. Now, when you're on two bases like this, especially after those engagements, it's going to be a little bit tough to actually attack into each other. So this is all setting up for that third base play.
Well, right now we do have those Hellions just kind of keeping light map control over here on the side of Polt. He needs to know when Polt has decided to start moving out. It probably won't happen until we have some medevacs to help support his Marines and Marauders. But when that happens, ForGG has to be ready to either do some run-bys, pick off units on the way over, and of course, get into a defensive posture back at home.
And so there are many roads you can pick in your builds with TvT, and we have two roads that are very different. Polt going for what he's known to be quite good at, which is the bio play. He's been doing this pretty consistently in StarCraft II for a long time, and having a lot of success with it. Now, a lot of people in theory believe that mech is better, and ForGG is going for that route there. So we're going to have two different unit compositions, and how they're going to engage is going to be very important. Also, factor in with mech a very positional, defensive style of play, at least early on. It really heavily relies on the structure of the map, where you can put a few tanks in a small area and defend a large amount of forces. At the same time, though, with ForGG moving out on the map, there's a lot of ways you can ambush on this map, coming out of the bushes or blindsiding with medevacs, coming over a ledge and then dropping on the army. So there are some ways that Polt can come in here and really try to punish a mech player who's trying to move around.
Yeah, and right now ForGG has already built up a really healthy force of Vikings to try to patrol those skies and stop those drops. He does have 9 already, which is a lot for this stage of the game, but that's what he needs to do, because he knows that's what Polt should be looking to do. But as ForGG gets more and more spread out, Polt is going to be looking to find angles and areas where siege tanks and turrets just aren't covering.
Oh, and this was the counterattack I was talking about, but completely denied there by a very good wall-in. And so now it's going to be these Hellions trying to back up a scan here to survey exactly how much does he have, and he has a very good idea of that now, as we have the bio army here of Polt moving out. Now, when it's mech against bio, the bio player has a little bit of a tempo advantage early on. They're able to move around, they make a few more mistakes, where the mech player has to be pretty flawless. So this is really the moment that Polt wants to seize on to try to utilize his unit composition.
Yeah, now look at this. Polt is going to go ahead and take down these rocks. He wants to punch through and do some damage. There is a single siege tank there, but he needs more than a single siege tank to hold this off. Now we do have, the Vikings landing.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he might be doing a flank there.
He actually might be trying to avoid the Vikings over here. Yeah, because I think there's so many Vikings in the air right now. So he's going to come in, and he is tearing apart these tanks. Looks like he wants to try to dive in here, go for the jugular, and take out the third base.
Well, it looks like he does take down yet another siege tank. ForGG might be too spread out right now. Polt doing a lot of damage at the moment. This command center is starting to take a lot of damage. Medevacing out some of these SCVs, and it looks like he will target down this command center, but will he be able to save it?
It's very low. It's in the red. It's going to be able to flip to the expansion. Meanwhile, an attack coming up here over at the entrance to the second base. Polt going in for the kill. Can ForGG hang on?
Oh man, it looks like those siege tanks go down as well. Polt finding every weak spot of ForGG here. He sieges up on his ramp, trying to hold on, trying to fight back here, but Polt moves his siege tanks forward.
Let's not forget here, it is possible to try to dart in there with the medevacs if the Vikings are out of position, maybe land on top of those tanks. That's the only thing that's really keeping them in an okay position for this time being. Also important to note, the tanks are hitting the gas, and when you're meching and you lose the gas, you can't make any of those meching units.
Well, it looks like right now we have Polt going ahead, taking his third base quite a bit later than ForGG did, but he's dealing a lot of damage over here. Medevac's coming out, dropping Hellbats on top of the army, but it looks like a big sim here, going to be able to clean up quite a bit. ForGG bringing out all of his SCVs, 30 of them do fall, and even though it looks like he will fight back against this army for now, he just lost a huge chunk of his economy.
Yeah, now down to 30 workers, and a lot of his tanks were killed off early on, and you really have to grow a big, healthy tank count if you want to stay alive, because mech, it really relies on getting maxed out before you can do all the damage that you want to do. So Polt in great position here. Now he takes a third base, but let's not forget, ForGG did not lose that command center.
That's right.
So he can just go back over there. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a ton of SCVs to mine from there, but it's still more mules coming down there and a quickly recaptured third base.
Yeah, he's going to need to get his economy back up at the moment. He has to get a lot of SCVs out, drop those mules out, and play a bit defensively here. We might see him try to throw out a drop or two to get some counter damage done, but he can't take another battle like that, or he's going to be in deep trouble and maybe even dead in this game.
You're absolutely right. I think he barely has enough tanks to maybe hold this third base. ForGG does, but really, it's quite possible for Polt to possibly come in here, punch through it, and do a decent amount of damage. You know, for the time being, though, I think Polt could even expand again in a little bit here.
Well, you know, Polt, being the aggressive player that he is, I'm not sure when he's going to end up taking his fourth base. It looks like he just wants to make a lot of units for the time being, stream those across the map, and see what type of damage he can get on ForGG. He knows that right now is the lowest that tank count's going to be for a long time. So if he's going to get damage in, it may as well be now.
What do we have down here coming into the base? It looks like we have, okay, so he's going to try to get him out of position here, and he can actually get back behind those gases so they can't be claimed as quickly there by ForGG. That's one great way to try to punish him. He goes ahead and backs off. Really, right now, it's Polt probing for any holes in the defense of ForGG.
But, you know, right now, ForGG is in a position where he probably can defend everything. He's got still a healthy amount of Vikings. He's got a good amount of siege tanks at this moment at 8. So he should be able to hold on at 3 bases. But as he starts to move out a little bit more, take that 4th base, try to get some pressure onto Polt, that's when Polt should be able to find a way in.
As you can see from that beating earlier there by ForGG, he's just going to have to stay back. And the mech style now, currently in StarCraft II, which we see in multiple matchups, by the way, is one where you oftentimes just cut the map in half. You don't even really attack, and you rely on the range of the siege tanks to punish any middle expansions on the map. And then what you do is you switch into this kind of insane, massive amount of Ravens to then force your opponent's tanks via the Seeker missiles to relocate. I don't know if that's the direction he's going to be taking this here since his opponent's going bio, but it's definitely something we might see with that being pretty trendy right now here in StarCraft II.
Yeah, well, we'll see how he wants to finish Polt off if he does live that long. And, you know, I think he's going to. If you look at these supplies, they're staying pretty even. Polt with a little bit of an advantage because he is on those bio units that make so quickly. But as we get closer and closer to that 200 supply, to that maxed out cap, that's when ForGG's army is going to become exponentially stronger.
It's also important to note that you know, sometimes mech players have pushed out around the 150. We're a little bit beyond that, but he might do it still here. Right now, Polt is completely equipped with this army in the bottom center to just go ahead and counterattack with that, and that's right there. You can see that at any moment, he's ready. So the map is somewhat booby-trapped right now. If ForGG attempts to play on it, ForGG may just opt to stay back here and keep building up, knowing and believing that his unit composition is fundamentally going to be stronger because it's comprised of mech units versus bio units. But no, he's not going to do that. He's going to go ahead and push out here, see if he can't do some damage. Let's see if Polt goes for the counterattack or if he just tries to engage this and surround it.
All right, well, he does have a really great sensor tower up, a lot of turrets in his main base as well, so he's pretty well defended against any counterattacks at the moment. Starting to move forward here, a big stim by Polt, and we have Hellbats being dropped on top. Polt coming up with a smaller force from the bottom, getting on top of these siege tanks before they siege up, and Polt surrounding the mech army.
Absolutely beautiful, swallows up all those siege tanks, and now he's in a lot of trouble. ForGG just in a really difficult position. When you lose that many tanks, you're spending the whole game building that up. And I think now this may be the killing blow. He's going to come here, counter attack across the entire map. Not a lot of tanks to defend here, and it looks like Polt may be taking game number 1.
He may indeed. This is a lot of Marauders. It looks like he's trying to kill those tanks on the high ground. One of them does get picked off. A lot of Vikings landing off, but the damage output of this bio force is too much, and GG! Looks like Polt gonna go ahead and take game number 1.
Yeah, I absolutely am blown away by how well Polt played that. I mean, you can really see that Polt, that's a style he's used, and it's a style that he's just kept around. And he's not one of these guys who wants to go ahead and try to mech. He doesn't see the need in doing anything like that. Stick with what works, and that's how you're gonna win. That's his philosophy.
Well, you know, Polt is someone that just won't give up on the bio, and a lot of players are nowadays. A lot of players are saying, you know what, that mech army, it's just so good defensively, it's so good in the late game, I want to go for that. But Polt is one of these very few players remaining in the world that continually can find out where your weaknesses are and how to exploit them with Marine Marauder.
It's going to be interesting to see how 4GG adjusts, because 4GG did go for that mech style. Now, that's not the most modern form of the TvT mech style, but that is one we've seen pretty much throughout StarCraft II as well, where you get ready, you get maxed out, and you push. One thing Polt, really exploited on that map was there are these bushes that you can pop out of and punish your opponent. And when we saw that mech army coming, he was already ready and in a good position. He came out there stemmed, and at the same time, he got that surround. I mean, if you're a mech player, you always want to fight in a valley. And if you're a bio player, you always want to fight in an open field. And what he did really effectively there is had one part of his army looking like it was in a nook. And therefore, you couldn't really, it couldn't possibly get to the back of the siege tanks. But Polt then came around from that. It could have been an army that counterattacked. But then he looked at that, identified the movement, and said, no, I can come in here and I can execute him in this moment.
And you know what? That is a map that can be tough to do that on, but he was really on top of his army movements. A fantastic flank, a huge concave for Polt, and that's really what sealed out game number 1 for him.
So now we're going to be going to game number 2. It's going to be on Cactus Valley. Now this is a 4-player map, so there are some variables you want to factor in here. With you can't do as many directly cheesy strats by simply knowing your opponent's starting location. However, I think this is a map that really I don't think favors a player. Do you?
It's hard to say you absolutely can play mech here, but Polt going to be very good on a giant map with his bio.
We're going into game number 2, 4GG against Polt. Down here in the bottom right, in the blue, let's make some noise for 4GG. Over here in the red in the upper right, let's make some noise for Polt.
Alrighty, it looks like they are both hugging the right-hand side of this map, so they're a little bit closer than if they had been across the map. Definitely something to take into consideration. A 4GG push could go a little bit quicker up that right-hand side than across in cross spawns. But of course, Polt can kind of expand away from his opponent here, so it could be hard to really stamp out Polt's economy for 4GG.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm curious to see if we have the same style of mech here from 4GG, or if he even bothers to just maybe go for bio. I think bio is a risky move against Polt. Polt really,
yeah.
I mean, when we were casting this guy in Korea, he was always this person that just got in there and did the damage. I mean, tactically, he is a genius.
Yes, truly. In a battle, Polt is going to come out on top against almost every pro gamer in the world. But as you said, will 4GG do something like go for bio? I gotta say, I felt like when I was watching that interview and just knowing these two players and having seen and watching cast them over the years, I think that was the biggest bluff of all time. I think 4GG has no intention of trying to go bio against Polt's bio, as Polt is just almost unstoppable when it's bio versus bio.
Yeah, on this map especially, in the center area, it's so open. Right, and mech players don't normally get to control that tower in the middle either. It's usually much easier for the bio player early on, and so you can see this big open area that the mech player really can't move out there with his army, possibly until he's maybe maxed out. Now they could try taking the path on the far right. However, that allows the bio army to then do a counterattack into usually with a drop, for instance, on this map into the main for Polt.
Yeah, while a mech player can win in some sort of base trading scenario,
sure,
the bio player is going to be very fast about moving around, eliminating buildings, and they just always have more mobility, so that's something that he's going to have to watch out for.
As we can see here, this game going on now, they're just getting the basic building blocks set up here. It looks so far like we're probably going to be seeing that basic Polt bio style here. There's still some chance, I think, that maybe 4GG will mix it up.
Sure, it definitely is. Right now, we don't see him taking a second gas, so it looks like he's going to basically focus on Hellions and Marines at the moment. Maybe grab a medevac to go with that. And, that's a fine opening as well, though. I still do think he'll probably go for mech once again, but probably a quicker expansion this game.
Yeah, I think you're correct. Let's see early on here if ForGG can maybe poke some holes into Polt, because that would be one way to really get a leg up here, especially on a player who's so strong early on. If you can cripple them in any way, it's definitely some way that you can get stability then in the mid game.
Yeah, well, right now the medevac is making plenty of Marines and Hellions being produced as well. Polt going to have his command center finishing up pretty soon, so he's chosen to get his economy going rather than more units, which is going to give ForGG a slight edge in this upcoming attack that he's going to do. But if he doesn't do some significant damage, then it might not pay off.
That was so beautiful. It was very subtle, but if you notice, ForGG ran away from that ledge so that the Reaper wouldn't be shot at from the low ground. Then he lets that up in there, and boom, guns down that Reaper. Now we have an attack headed directly for Polt's base.
All right, that is 8 Marines in a medevac, as well as 3 Hellions underneath. This is a very fearsome force right now for ForGG. Coming up right now, sees Polt's expansion, going to drop out these Marines. A lot of pressure going on this command center.
And right now with the command center being upgraded, I mean, he's going to have to cancel that and go back up. He can't possibly afford to lose the command center.
No, certainly not. He is going to have to get that out of there. He's trying to wait for it to finish its transformation here, and the Hellions starting to come down, and he actually gets to take out 2 of the Hellions very quickly. It looks like ForGG going to push back Polt's Hellions for the time being, and he does not lose that command center, very importantly.
All right, and now he's going to come up here onto the high ground. This makes it a little bit tougher there, for these Hellions to come down. Marines have a pretty good angle there. The splash damage isn't quite as effective there on them.
But look at that. The Marines actually did quite a bit. They killed a lot of Hellions off. They did a lot of damage to that command center as well. Looks like Polt even landing a Viking there, and it does absolutely nothing. The Marines coming down, poking on these SCVs again, and a Mule that's at over half its timer. Wow, this is actually doing some significant damage.
These 3 Marines are doing an incredible amount of damage. I mean, imagine had they been killed off, this would have ended a little while ago, and he's actually coming up here with reinforcements in a second. This command center, again, getting very, very low, but, with a tank coming up here and the command center in the red, I mean, it's being repaired, but that won't last for too much longer. I think this may force the command center to lift up and go onto the high ground.
The army right now of ForGG is unstoppable by Polt. Like, Polt has almost nothing, just 2 Hellions at the moment. A lot of damage being put on this command center. He is going to have to lift it up and get it out of here. But this is a fantastic attack by ForGG.
Command center getting lower right now. Polt has been shoved back into his main. He needs to get some SCVs under there. It's getting very, very low. And it looks like he just barely manages to save it. 2 Vikings, though, now continue to deal damage. The SCVs frantically repairing at the depots at the entrance will be destroyed.
Huge amounts of damage coming out of ForGG here. Polt is actually in a lot of trouble, but let's not forget, ForGG once again skipping his command center to do this. If Polt can hold on, he'll still have a chance, but I don't know that there's any way for him to live.
Yeah, I think that's the big question. This army is so scary. If he can just push up and get to where the production facilities are, the barracks, the starport, the factory, that could be it. The SCVs are now being pulled. He's going to do everything to try to save this. Polt has to win this attack if this game's going to go on any further.
The SCVs swarming out at the moment. 10, 11 of them already going down. ForGG pushing into this main base, and I think that this could be GG.
Oh my gosh, he denies Banshee cloaking with about 2 seconds of it actually finishing, and that's it. GG!
Wow, well done by ForGG. A well-executed and very technical rush. A great job right there.
I love the fact that ForGG did an aggressive build trying to get into his opponent's face early on. I think, and Polt as well, and many of us probably watching at home, assumed that, ForGG was going to stick with the mech style, and that was going to give Polt a lot more freedom in the early game.
Yeah, you know what? These early rushes, this is 2 games in a row that ForGG has decided to put on so much of his economy into just making units, just going for that very powerful early attack. And I think that Polt has to look at that and say, okay, there's a pattern going on here. Maybe he should get aggressive in the early game to have enough units to defend. Maybe he should play more defensively and not get his command centers quickly.
Okay, so if you're Polt, what are you thinking right now? And how would you approach game number 3 as far as builds go? Do you want to stick with 1 base play? Because I think if Polt goes for 1 base play and ForGG uses what worked in game 2, I think that Polt is still favored in the fights. He's very good in these skirmishes, these tactical moments.
If he has like the same strength army, I think that he might be able to out-micro ForGG, but The unit compositions that ForGG is going for in this early game are very difficult to deal with defensively. So he's got a lot of mobility to him. They're very fast moving across that map, and Polt's getting caught off guard a little bit.
Well, we're going to be going into game number 3 very shortly here. It is going to be the map Bridgehead. And this is a map where you can do some sneaky stuff. Proxies can be very strong on a map like this.
Sure. And let's not forget those back rocks behind your back natural. That is definitely something that In Control was pointing out, and an area where Polt definitely can get in there and put a lot of pressure on. So if we go into the later game, there's a lot of avenues of attack for Polt to take out ForGG.
Well, let's see what Polt and ForGG have in store for us. I mean, right now it's 1-1, so it's basically now we're in a best of 3.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. Let's see what happens, guys. Let's get some hype in here. We're going into game number 3. Polt against ForGG in a fight to get to the final. Introducing our players over here in the left side of the map in the blue, it is ForGG. In the right, in the red, he is Polt.
See, the pressure are on these two right now, both of them looking to get as deep as possible. Again, ForGG doesn't have a ticket to BlizzCon yet. Polt, he's good to go, but ForGG needs a deep showing here, so he does not want to drop this map.
Yeah, and of course, Polt, you know, one of the winningest players, is not going to let ForGG's hopes try to get in his way here. So, you know, it's going to be a pretty fierce continued match here. Now,
yes.
we do have, looks like gas first builds here for ForGG.
That's right. Looks like he does want to tech up early on in the game. In the meantime, Polt just going ahead and grabbing his barracks. Looks like he could just be going for a very fast command center here, wanting to get that expansion right up. Definitely a map where he should be able to defend it reasonably easily.
Yeah, and I think this might actually be one of our longer games if they don't have a quick clash right at the start. I think we could have a pretty epic match on this. This is definitely a map where you want to be very careful of drops, because your because your main base is sort of in the middle of the map. Mm-hmm. They can blindside you from, you know, this over this ridge we see over here, but they can also come in from the top or the bottom. So I mean, the more bases you take, the much more exposed you are.
That's right, and again, those back rocks, as we just saw there from the lovely Funka, definitely a danger area, especially as Polt gets out a large group of stimmed bio. He's going to be able to run around and really put the pressure on. But ForGG, I think he's going to get really aggressive again. You know, this gas first build, maybe we'll see quick Banshees, maybe we'll see that same type of drop once again.
And as the game continues, they're just going to go ahead and set up the required production facilities before they can really do much of anything. I do think this is a game, though, they could definitely be surprising each other. We see Polt now coming down here, making a command center in the bottom right with a little bit of Marine defense over there near the entrance.
Yeah, quite a fast command center, but he gets a really quick reactor as well, which is going to allow him to get out many more Marines this time, and hopefully for his sake, be able to defend whatever it is that ForGG is planning on sending over.
Then again, Artosis, I mean, Polt is doing something kind of similar to what we saw in the previous game, right? He's taking this expansion. I mean, ForGG really showed that he can actually go head-to-head against Polt and even beat him in a fight early on. So maybe this game will look somewhat like the game that we saw before.
Well, right now we do have the double gas for ForGG. Looks like he's going to go ahead and go for Banshees, most likely with Cloak here. That can be very tough to stop. And we'll just have to keep an eye on Polt, what he does as far as detection goes. Does he get quick missile turrets up? Because that's going to be something that can really help him out.
Another thing important to note is that on this map, when you're looking at the location of the minerals here for Polt, Polt's minerals are on the backside there. Now, a Banshee can come around from that, but you know, a lot of expansions, the natural is actually much more exposed. A Banshee can make a beeline to it and then hit it from
Sure.
there. So if there's at least some decent defense, that would save a few seconds for the Banshee to get to those mineral patches, and a few seconds means a lot when it comes to Banshees. I mean, they two-shot SCVs so quickly, so that's definitely something you want to factor in.
Well, we see right now, Polt's starting to spread out. He is making an engineering bay here, so looks like he's kind of keen on what's going on here from his opponent. Of course, he did scout that gas first, so probably thinking that Cloaked Banshees are on the way since he's seen nothing else so far. And I think he's going to be ready for this. I don't know how much damage 4GG is going to be able to find.
And, you know, the Banshee really does need to get some SCV kills. If you don't get any SCV kills with the Banshee, it's not. I wouldn't say it's a bad investment, but for a standard Terran game, you're definitely not in the spot you wanted to be. I mean, you're definitely, you know, really kicking yourself for not getting in there and doing more damage. And maybe here 4GG, knowing that, is going to come in here and just damage the outside, and he's actually going to do a push.
Yes.
Okay, so this is smart. Now, I think that hitting the depot was a little bit of a tell, and so now he's going to come up here and just try to take out some SCVs, but he may actually come up here and end up doing a good amount of damage to the front entrance here. But you gotta not lose that Banshee because you need that vision on the high ground.
That is so true, but he's brought 3 SCVs with him to be able to repair things. He has a Siege Tank, he has a bunch of Marines. Polt doesn't have an army that can take this on right now, so he's gonna have to start giving up some ground.
This is pretty scary. Now, we have a Siege Tank coming here, but that's a long way away for the amount of damage that can be inflicted over here. Now, there's a couple options here for 4GG. He may actually just grab everything and go for the bunker, and I think he's going to be doing just that. He's going to come up here.
Oh, and he loses that Viking. That is a very important unit. You need the Vikings to push off the Banshees so that they can't actually shoot you from the low ground, but he does lose that. That's a big deal, but he has a Siege Tank out, so he can start his defense with this.
And it's going to be very tough to repair this with the Banshee coming down. He's just going to dive right on top of that bunker. But the bunker, oh, it does go down. I thought it was going to survive for a second. And now the push is going to continue as he moves towards the heart, the core there of Polt's base.
Well, right now he is repairing the Siege Tank. It took a little bit of damage. A bit of a sloppy defense for Polt right now, but to 4GG's credit, he's doing a fantastic job with this push, pushing forward, even sniping that missile turret and building a bunker on the high ground of Polt's base.
And the Banshee and the tanks are comboing so well here. And I mean, really, if he gets just a little bit deeper here in the base, Polt will have to actually relocate his main into his second base, as funny as that sounds.
Well, we'll see if he can actually break through. The Banshees continuing to just rain pot shots down on these SCVs. The fact that we've actually seen Polt lose multiple Vikings here is really what's getting to him, Tasteless.
Yeah, he needs the Vikings there to really drive back the Banshee and to spot for his Siege Tanks against his opponents. And now we have another Banshie coming out, but the Viking coming out. The Banshee going to be able to run away.
Oh, and it looks like he does push back that Banshee for the time being. It does back up, but lots of damage being dealt to this command center. Look at that Siege Tank line of 4GG. He's doing a fantastic job.
Already he just lost his eBay. This is really bad right now. And in fact, we will have this command center, it looks like, relocate into the second base. And pretty soon there's not going to be any more room on the map for Polt to run to.
The Siege Tank gets taken out right there, and that's a big deal. He does come up, but this is Polt's last try to hold this off. It looks like 4GG's technical rush here working once again, and I believe we'll be seeing a GG.
Nicely done there by 4GG. You know, this is one of the beautiful things about a best of 5, is that in a best of 5, you have time to analyze how your player's playing on that given day. You know, occasionally a best of 3 can be really much more volatile. But what he's done is he's looked at this and said, okay, I don't want to let Polt get into the mid-game or early mid-game. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do one-base plays here because Polt, look, I don't think he's going to do any more quick command center stuff here.
You might be right about that. I liked his idea that game to take the even quicker command center and get a nice fast reactor so that he can get a lot of Marines out for defense. But 4GG's technical rushes here Polt's defense is very messy against them to try to kill off Siege Tanks and Banshees with these gasless units like Marines. So I think he's going to have to play much, much safer here. And sometimes one of the safer plays in a Terran vs. Terran is to do one of these more technical early harassment builds yourself.
Yeah, you know, especially if you're solid with your control. I mean, like we saw in that last game, what he did very effectively was just kill the Viking. And what's so funny is, you know, when you look at that, you wouldn't think the Viking's that important, but the Viking is what drives out the Banshee, and the Viking is what gives you the extended vision. Because, guys, Siege Tanks fire faster or not, excuse me, faster, farther than they can actually see. So you need to have that setup, and that was just brilliant to gun down those Vikings because it spiraled out of control.
Definitely a brilliant move by ForGG, and I think we can say a bit of a sloppy mistake there by Polt. You've got to be very precise when you're defending against such rushes, as ForGG is showing us here today. It looks like we're going to go into our fourth map, which will be Moonlight Madness.
All right, Moonlight Madness is loading up. Again, if Polt loses this game, his story is going to be ending here. How will he adjust his play? Can he keep his cool, dial in that stuff he's had in the past, and bring us to game number 5? We're going to find out. Otherwise, ForGG is going to take this.
Yeah, and, ForGG, if he does take it, as Chobra was saying, that would be 2 Millennium players in that round of 4. Pretty big deal right there. And, of course, 2 of them, ForGG and Lil Bao, still have chances to go to BlizzCon.
As you can see, Moonlight Madness, another one-on-one map. We have a lot of different things you can do in TvT to punish your opponent early on. You can proxy a Banshee, do all sorts of stuff. So the option for even more aggressive rushes and builds coming into this game are definitely a possibility. Anyways, the game has loaded up. Let's get hype here for game number 4 with ForGG against Polt. In the upper right, in the blue, he is ForGG. In the bottom left, in the red, he is Polt.
I think we have a lot of Polt fans here today.
Well, I would love for this to go to game number 5, so I cannot blame them.
Indeed, I would love to see it as well, but as we see, the same types of openings from these two, with ForGG grabbing a nice fast gas, but looks like Polt's going to get a gas as well instead of getting such a quick command center.
So the big question right now is, does ForGG keep up with this aggression? I mean, I think Polt's really going to be frustrated if he loses 3 quick games in a row after having such a strong showing in the first game.
And, to be honest, even in that first game, he did take a lot of damage from the Hellion harassment, but was able to at least hold on here. Now, what has ForGG done different? He's brought stronger pushes. He's supplementing with Marines and Siege tanks, which have staying power as opposed to Hellions that just kill off economy. So
even bringing SCVs in that game, too.
Yeah.
I mean, having the SCVs come out like that was phenomenal.
Well, right now, we do have that factory, a very fast one coming up from ForGG. A Reaper from both players. Now, is Polt only planning on grabbing the Reaper, or will he go into a factory before his command center as well?
We'll just have to wait and see. Again, they do know each other's starting locations here. So obviously you got to be cautious. Neither of these guys are doing anything sneaky right now. Although I am very surprised to say that it looks like Polt will once again be getting a quick command center. What do you think, Artezis?
Well, I'm interested to see what he does with it, like how he defends a bit better here, because ForGG obviously going to be teching up quite a bit again, going into those cloaked Banshees. But this is a map that we just don't see as much as these other maps. So does Polt actually have the experience to hold on against something like this that ForGG has practiced so many times?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good point to make. Experience is everything. And I mean, I'm not worried about these two guys with experience on stage, but yeah, I mean, different builds of maps, that's definitely something you got to factor in.
All right, now we do have that factory coming up for Polt. Not just going to sit on Marines. Got to get his tech units out as well. In the meantime, we do have a tech lab being made. It looks like that is going to be going for Banshees over on ForGG's side of the map.
Now, because the Reaper went around here for Polt, he went the long way. ForGG making a beeline directly to the entrance. He might actually be able to deal a good amount of damage. And this will once again be history repeating itself, at least in this series, with ForGG being able to get inside Polt's base and do a lot of damage.
2 Marines going to do nothing against this. 2 more do pop out, but just a little bit late. Lots of damage being dealt here by ForGG.
Oh my God, he didn't get the Hellion! He's going to be going to where the SCVs are!
Oh, this is a big deal. SCVs starting to be pulled against this. Some good micro, much quicker here are the units of ForGG. 2 Marines are going to be popping out, but already SCVs are falling.
And he's continuing to get more and more kills. The two Marines do pop out, but they can outmaneuver. The Reapers can outmaneuver those Marines. The Reapers now circling around now, trying to do some more damage down here. Another Hellion is being sent down to reinforce with these two Reapers.
Well, the Reapers dealing huge amounts of damage. 7 SCVs already having gone down. And it looks like we do have another Hellion coming up, but it does get chased back. Finally, Polt stabilizes, but now he's down 4 SCVs.
Yeah, 19 to 23, and it looks like ForGG isn't done quite yet. He's getting Banshees and he's getting Cloaks, so he wants to come in here and do even more damage too. Again, a fast expanding Polt here.
Well, Polt is going up into Vikings, so that's definitely something that can help out, but he's got to be careful not to lose him like we saw previously. Just a little bit of a scuffle going on here between the Hellions.
This is very subtle, but notice how smart this is. ForGG is going to reduce the Marines. He's taking out Marines, or at least trying to, because he knows a Banshee's coming in here. So this is really sneaky stuff.
Well, the Banshee coming in, wanting to pick off those really weak Marines, and in fact, doesn't get anything quite yet, but that Cloak is about to finish.
Yep, about 8 seconds away from completing. However, it will be zoned away. ForGG going to expand over this.
And looks like he did chase him very far away and did a lot of damage before that Cloak. Gonna go ahead and scan, and if he can get this, a big moment right there, picking off this SCV right before the turret finishes.
A 4 HP Banshee. He's gonna have to get that other SCV before it finishes, and he gets that as well.
Oh my, this is insanity. ForGG doing a great job with that first Banshee.
Absolutely beautiful job there, and this is just the beginning. It's the second Banshee is now headed towards the main to see if he can do any more damage.
Well, he does have a nice missile turret there. A few Marines and the Viking as well will push that back. But ForGG, he's going to continue to try to press in here and find damage anywhere he can.
The second Banshee's now being chased out, and once again manages to survive, but just barely. The expansion almost finished. We'll have the SCV transfer come down here soon for ForGG, as he is going to just see if he can't do possibly some more damage. I don't know if he's going to give up on this push entirely. Oh, I believe he's going to go for a Hellion drop here. So the Medevac's actually going to meet with these Hellions. And I'm not sure if there's going to be enough to defend this, or if he's going to get, he might get a lot of SCV kills.
Yeah, does he even really know that this is coming? This is going to be really deadly. If not, it looks like he's going to go ahead and boost that Medevac towards that main base. This could be a huge move. Polt has nothing to scout where he's dropping them off.
They're coming down here, and he is none the wiser. They're barely now into the main. Many of these SCVs already bruised from the previous attacks.
Oh, man, and Polt pulls away as quickly as he possibly can, but lots of SCVs already going down right now. 11, oh my, look at this. He's down to just 21 workers.
And you do not want to be this low this late in the game. I mean, just put it in perspective, it's 23 SCVs to 35. That's some serious catching up that Polt's going to need to do here.
Yeah, the economy of ForGG just crushing Polt. Even his supply, look at this, he's got the map presence as well. He's got upgrades already going with that blue flame. This is really, really bad for Polt.
One concept to really keep in mind here is when you are continuing to harass effectively, you're also looking for the bludgeoning play. You're looking for the moment where you just suddenly have too much and you go on there and you smash them.
Yeah, it's like winning by 1,000 paper cuts. Eventually, you can just walk in with your entire army and wipe him out, but Polt did a good job in game number 1 when he took a lot of damage, somehow holding on and fighting back. Can he do that this game?
And again, ForGG just already getting a third base here. We see the armory was coming up, a huge explosion of factories. And something very, very important to really keep in mind here is when you're going for bio, I mean, your advantage is in the early game. That's where the control comes from. The fact that Polt already got beaten up in the early game, that means that ForGG can mech so comfortably, it should be so difficult for him to do anything at all to punish ForGG.
Very, very true. Now look at this great move by ForGG. Realizing he should have the Viking advantage, comes in, snipes one, gets out of there. Just great moves. He really understands what he's able to do because of that damage that you were talking about earlier.
And he's got one of these leads in really every sense. And so now we see, it looks like he's going to come back in here, possibly. We see the Hellions now tearing down these rocks over here with right now ForGG surveying the rock just outside the entrance of the main there, and he wants to have every opportunity to go in here and punish him. Again, Polt is going to have to be defending for several more minutes before he can get any kind of foothold into this game.
Yeah, now let's be fair here, Polt still has a chance. When he gets his stim done, when he has a good amount of medevacs out, he can start poking around the map a little bit and seeing if anything's out of place. And if ForGG has not crossed every T and dotted every I, then he's going to start losing some of these very valuable mech units, and that's how Polt's going to want to come back into this game.
I do wonder if maybe he could sneak up over to that top base. I mean, it's not the farthest base away you could take, but there's certainly a distance there, right? Although now that I'm saying that, I already see ForGG preempting any possibility of that by having depots there. Artosis, we're seeing Polt move out now. He's close to the center of the map.
Yeah, I think he really needs to move out at this point. He does have his stim upgrade all set. Pushing out right now. Let's see if he can get something done. The Blue Flame Alien's coming up on top of his entire army. CJ's coming as well. The Vikings are landing on top of everything Polt has. And while Polt is actually eliminating quite a few, ForGG has reinforcements and will end up winning the battle.
You know, I was worried there for a second. I thought Polt might actually take that fight. He had such a good stim there. But with the 2 tanks coming up here, there's no way he's going to be able to do much of anything. Now, ForGG, knowing he's ahead and knowing he only has to play one really solid game here to move on. He's just waiting for the vehicle weapons to finish up. He's waiting for some more tanks. You really want to have a certain degree of bulk in your mech army because mech units by themselves are not actually that strong.
Yeah, it really, your strength comes in numbers. When you have a lot of siege tanks and a lot of things buffering them, the damage output from such range is almost impossible to stop. But at this point, he's just making more and more units, knowing that Polt has lost a lot this game. ForGG is on 3 bases against a 2-base bio player. This is every mech player's dream.
Polt going for a drop here. Meanwhile, ForGG going for a killing blow into the entrance right now of Polt's base. We're going to have a lot of damage exchanged here very quickly.
All right, looks like Polt deciding to try to harass where he knows this 3rd base might be. He goes ahead, scans, sees where it is. But in the meantime, as you said, this could be a killing blow by ForGG, pushing forward. A lot of siege tanks here to help out.
And because they're moving up in here now, I think this base is just going to be very vulnerable. I don't know if there's anything you can do. Yes, Polt is doing a good amount of damage to ForGG's other base, but I don't know if that's going to matter here when there won't even be an expansion remaining here for Polt.
Well, Polt just lost a lot of his economy here once again for the 3rd or 4th time in this game. ForGG still has a strong foothold right at his natural base. I'm not sure how Polt's supposed to break this.
I don't know if Polt can. I mean, there's already a huge number of units now streaming down here. You can see Polt attempting to shut down the reinforcements. However, there's still already so much damage, and now coming here and sandwiching this with Vikings hitting the medevacs. That's going to clean up Polt's army over there.
Well, looks like Polt will go ahead and be able to take off these siege tanks, starting to pick off a few here and there, but his supply has been doubled by ForGG, who is just punching in right now with these Hellions. ForGG looks like he may be able to take out Polt here.
And the tanks are now taking out the Vikings on the high ground. A scan to continue the damage, dealing Vikings floating overhead right now as these siege tanks obliterate the remaining forces of Polt.
ForGG, he wants this win so badly. He needs more points to make it to BlizzCon 2015. And with this victory, he's coming one step closer.
He is not stopping, and he is going to, it looks like, put on the killing blows here onto Polt and move on deeper into this tournament.
Polt trying to make some sort of defense here, but realistically looking at this, he knows there is no way out. ForGG is in his base, killing his stuff, and this is Polt's last attack.
Yeah, and as he just continues to come in here, there's just nothing you can really do to stop the siege tanks when they're firing onto your production facilities. GG!
All right, ForGG keeping his BlizzCon hopes alive. Guys, make some noise for ForGG.
All right, ForGG takes the win 3-1, shuts down Polt. And let's talk about that a little bit of a revenge match for you too, coming in here. How good does it feel to know that you've taken down Polt, proven yourself, and now going on to the round of 4?
I feel really good. I'm really happy because I lose against Polt WCS Season 1, and same as round of 8, and I lose first map, and I think this will be going to bad, but second map, third map, and last map were very good play for me, and I'm very happy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, give him a round of applause. I mean, he deserves it after that one. I like how you mentioned that because the casters were talking about it too. After game one, some people were a little worried that, oh, Polt, maybe he's looking really good again, but then you made the other 3 games look really easy. Is that a confidence boost going forward for the rest of the tournament?
Actually, first game, I don't think he's play well. Just my micro very mistake. First fight, same unit, but just I lose my Hellion. Second fight, also lose. And I just angry. And I decide to some one-base cheese next game.
Hey, whatever gets you the win. I mean, as a professional player, you got to respect that part. Now, it's also got to be exciting because, of course, right before your match, we saw Little Bell, your teammate, win his match with a reverse sweep. So now both of you guys still keeping your chances alive. There is a slight possibility that it comes down to you two in the finals and one of you secures a spot in BlizzCon and the other doesn't. Even if it comes to that, are you just set on the fact that you have to win to go to BlizzCon?
Yes, I will try to do my best. If legal, yes, I will get trophy this time.
All right, well, he's got his eyes set, ladies and gentlemen. Still keeping the dream alive for BlizzCon 2015. Once again, your third winner of the day, it is ForGG. Let's hear what our experts have to say about that match.
Thank you very much, Chobra. ForGG makes it through to the semi-finals, and rightfully so. Unfortunately, he lost in Season 1, but he comes back to make the revenge story true, Nathanius. And I know you've got a bit of a grin because you predicted him to win.
Of course. Of course. ForGG is just so good at Terran versus Terran. I wasn't really surprised. I think he said it in the interview prior to the match. It's like, well, I think Polt's weakness is Hellions, and the Hellions did quite a bit of work this series.
They did. But why was Polt so outclassed, though? You know, 3-1, it looked like he couldn't keep up by any means with
That was
4GG.
last season, Jeff.
Huh?
That was last season. That's what you said before.
Exactly right. Some people are stuck in the past like Todd, but I felt like it was ForGG dictating the pace the entire time. Like I felt like Polt was always on the receiving end of what ForGG was doing to him.
Like in the past.
And what's that?
Like in the past. Like last season.
Like in the past, Todd. That's right. History repeats itself here again. And I 4G looked in form. I mean, we kind of talked about this. It's like there's a couple of different 4GGs. He's really inconsistent, but so far he's picking up momentum. I mean, we saw a really good 4GG against Jaedong, and now he destroys Polt, your Season 1 winner. We're going to have a new champion in Season 3.
Yeah, it's crazy to see that both the finalists are eliminated here in the quarterfinals. And we asked the question at the start of the day, were we going to see a new champion? And a lot of people said, no, I don't think so, but it's coming true.
Yeah, and not just that. Now, BlizzCon-wise, for 4GG and Lil Bo, the dream's alive.
Imagine them playing for that Blizz. I mean, that's...
Yeah, that's a potential final.
I'm really excited about that. They should like Skype in Mike Morheim and have him hold up tickets and be like, one of you young men can get this ticket.
Come and get it.
It's true. It's crazy that could be a final, but of course you do have two players left to play down in the other quarterfinal, Patricia Man. We'll get to that very shortly. As prediction-wise, Nathanius, we've updated the predictions and we're able to have a quick look. So this week has been going quite well for you, and here we are currently with new ones coming in. You dropped a couple of points, but you are still at the top. 74%, Nathanius. You are the #1 predictor. Second place is Pig and Funker. Where is In Control? Guys, can you see In Control on there? Wait,
I'm right here, Sean.
Where is In Control's? Wait,
Sean,
is he at the? He's at the bottom.
No,
he's at the bottom.
Well, I mean, technically yes, but
39%.
I feel really bad about my percentage, but thank you, Jeff.
Yeah,
I just want to say.
Hey, you should feel bad, Todd. You're the analyst.
True.
Look at Nathanius all smart on the end over there. Hello, mate.
What can I say? Feels good to be the king.
Perched up on his box like.
We'll see if there's only a couple of games left. There's only the last quarterfinal, 2 semis, and the grand final. We'll see if you're at the top at the end of it. Thank you very much, guys, for your thoughts on 4GG, and of course, Polt. It's done for the 3rd quarterfinal. It's time to get ready for the 4th quarterfinal as Petraeus takes on Mana. But it's not just about the global finals at the end of the year. It's also the road to BlizzCon.